Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We are back with Bring a Smile's Key to Smile episode 4. We've taken it to a recorded feature today because we'll have two guests instead of one. So, our first guest is a friend of mine. She's doing her MA from Australia, Monash University. She's done her bachelor's in India in biotechnology. She's an engineer by qualification. She worked in the field for a while and then she is switched to something completely different. Our second guest again is an engineer, the BTech in biotechnology from India again, and he also has worked in the industry. Now, both of them have switched their streams and now are currently pursuing two very different fields. So, without delaying, we'll start the fourth episode of Bring a Smile's Key to Smile, Work, Life, and Friends. So, our first guest, Ms. Gurmehak Mann,
Hi guys.
and our second guest is Mr. Rajdeep Pal.
What's up?
Yeah, both of them my friends, both of them engineers, and now pursuing something really different from two different places across the globe. We'll talk about their life, their experiences and in the workplace, how they've seen challenges from teenage to adulthood, and how they have coped and are coping with it. So I'm very glad that you guys have taken time and are really were very prompt to join us today. You guys can speak now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought
I was
you
allowing
said
the lady to speak first.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So why don't we
But go
start
ahead.
with Gurmehak and lead the discussion with the first and the most important thing, because we were basically teenagers when we started college. We were
Yes.
completely coming out from a very different approach towards education to a new approach of education, and both of you are engineers by profession, if I might have have the liberty to talk about it. So how was engineering for you guys?
All right. Uh, so to speak, it's been 7 years, so it seems like a really long time, but engineering was a completely different thing than what we had been told or what we knew about education in the first place. Coming out of high school, it wasn't something that I personally was prepared for, given the fact that I was coming out from a boarding school background. So for me, it was a completely different world altogether. But I would say engineering personally for me, the 4 years I was in uni was not what we had been taught to believe it would be. So I expected something to be very strict. The academic curriculum, the the administrative side of university and everything actually. But like I said, I was shell shocked, to be precise, when I came to uni, because it was a different world altogether. Imagine being in a cage and then being told that, okay, this is it. You've been to go and you can do whatever you want, but it's just a bigger cage now. So that's the analogy I would go with for now.
Yeah, I mean,
What
I
about
I
you,
think
Raj?
that's pretty well summed up. So yeah, for me, I think engineering was something very different to what it was for Gurmehak, because for me it was a way out rather. It was like the easiest thing I could do, given my career choices at that point, given my stream choices. It was the easiest thing that I could do in engineering and biotech. That was like quitting maths because I hated maths and maths hated me likewise. So it was the best thing I could do at that point without sacrificing on the engineering part, because everybody in my family is are engineers and it's India, right? So you want to always do what your family does. So that was it. But the cage part, so even before engineering, I took a year off, and it was not like I was restricted much to anything. And coming to college, I felt that was just that being built upon, that nothing really could hold us back, nothing really held us back. So yeah, I would say that was nothing transformative for me, but yeah, something that I would call the easiest way out for me at that point of my career.
I think I'll add to that and say I second it. For me as well, particularly biotechnology was the easiest choice because,
Yeah.
like Rajdeep, it wasn't maths for me, it was physics. And physics hated me and I hated it. So biotech was the easiest route where we had to still be called engineers at the end of the 4 years, but be saved from the rigorous studying that physics involves.
True, very true.
I can say the same thing. I mean, I took a BSc, which was not conventional. It had no core physics, chemistry, or biology for that matter. It was all applied. So forensics was something that worked on my favor because मुझे पढ़ना तो था. I wanted to study science. I wanted to pursue something in science, but science ही नहीं पसंद थी. So it was an exit. And like when we talk about this to teenagers during counseling, we tell them about how college does not decide your future. It only gives you a gateway towards your future. वो सीखने का ही point होता है. It's a gateway जहाँ पे तुम समझते हो कि तुम्हें actually में करना क्या है. And since I've known both of you and I know what you like to do back then, you are pursuing that only right now. So बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिलता है and you actually figure out what you really want to do. And at the end of the day, it becomes a lifelong process. You know, कि चलो 7 साल पहले when we joined college, तब कुछ और था. Right now, we want to do something else. Maybe 5 years down the road, you still want to do something else. A lot of teenagers at this point of time and this point of age, they think if they have something else in mind bubbling up, वो गलत हो जाता है. They start thinking, they start blaming themselves कि no, we have to be focused and whatever decision we make at that particular point, it has to be there, it has to sustain the test of time. So वो नहीं होता when, and we are actually complete examples of what it is. कि चीजें बदल सकती हैं and we need to understand, we need to acknowledge it. And I'm pretty sure for you guys also and for me also, कि when we were teenagers, nobody told us things can be this way. There are options, there are exit points into this road.
I agree to that very strongly, actually, because had anybody told me at 18 that I could do what I want in life and make a living out of it and still enjoy myself, it was like watching movies and seeing people doing what they want, traveling around, doing what they love. It felt like a fairy tale too good to come true. And even around me, people told me, I saw people succumbing to the pressure and they were all like, we have to do this. This is the path that has been designated to us. There's no other option. So I think especially in India, I would say that, you know, once you turn 18, it's like the basic is not complete even when you're 18. Your schooling is not completing your basic education. It's like an engineering or an alternate degree or something, or a standard degree, something that actually completes your basic education in contrast to what happens in the Western world. So I think, yeah, that's very true.
To add to that again, I feel the culture in India specifically has been built around the fact that you just have to have your life figured out the moment you finish your boards, because we are just expected to start off college and just have a path ready. For engineers specifically, I know it sounds like a cliche, but सबसे ज़्यादा used line ये होती है कि आप 12वीं कर लो, उसके बाद आप engineering कर लो, and then it's probably going to be some work followed by an MBA, and that's that. That's a life that's been promoted the most for the last couple of years.
तुम्हें ये करना है, तुम्हारे लिए प्लान बना हुआ है बहुत सारे. There are a lot of plans made out जो पूरी दुनिया फॉलो करेगी. So at the end of the day,
I think I want to draw an analogy over here that it's like a production line basically.
Yeah.
You put on the building blocks and then you just have that designated. You through school, you complete schooling, you do a basic degree, get some job, do the secondary, you get married, have a kid, raise them in the same manner, pass on, and they then continue the same cycle. I think that's what's going on.
And to again going on from that, I feel your family's background adds a lot to it. Just like Rajdeep mentioned, my family, at least on one side of my family, my paternal side, I don't know any single person who has not ever pursued science. And hence, there was never an option. There wasn't an alternative for me. It was always just science. It was just a matter of choosing between maths or biology. And I went with both, which was something that was promoted or supported in my family, because, you know, you're like, oh, my child is going to do both. अच्छा, हमारी बच्ची PCMB कर रही है, कितनी अच्छी है. It's just something to tell people. I think just that. And I remember talking to a lot of friends of my father and my mother during my college time, and they didn't even ask me, what are you doing? The question used to be, what engineering are you doing? It was just assumed you're doing engineering. Because I mean, I joke about it now when somebody asks me what my primary like my bachelor's degree was. So I said, I'm an engineer, just like 90% of India. But just like 90% of India, I realized what I really wanted to do after finishing my graduate degree, my bachelor's
Exactly.
degree.
That's very true. So both of you, after graduating from college, joined the industry, something related to biotechnology, and you worked there for a while. Both of you were there in the same company. They worked the same kind of job. What was the experience about it? Like engineering की एक particular field से फिर उसी field से related तुम्हें job भी मिला है. So how much did you enjoy that, or how much? What was the experience in general?
That was actually pretty, I would say, a pretty freaky and pretty awesome story. I mean, at least the beginning, we were actually the first few kids who were placed in our industry. Like, it was not a telecommunications job. No offense to the people who are doing that, but it was like something from our core domain, and we were like 4 people out of the 400 who sat for the placements who actually got taken. So feelings wise, yeah, it was pretty good. We both of us felt pretty elated, that we are creme de la creme. We actually got picked first, and you always, in this country, it's always a rat race, and whenever you win that race, regardless of you want it or not, you always have that feel good factor. And yeah, things started out that way for both of us. We got something we wanted desperately from it. I got a new purpose to which I serve, something that actually spending time on a computer gives me money. That was my end goal. For Gurmehak, I believe it was shifting out to another geography. So she got that as well out of the job. So we both got something we both wanted very desperately at that point, and we both got it. But I think Mehak could add on to the story and the later half over here better than I can.
Yeah, thanks for giving that reference about the geographical change. I think to add on to that again, I feel for me personally, towards the end of my second year, I didn't know what I wanted. I was just trying to figure out. Half of my class was so sure they wanted to go for a master's and then a PhD, and then 25% of them were definitely sure that they wanted to become professors, while the other half was thinking about getting a job right after the bachelor's degree and not waiting to go for a master's. So I was confused as to what should I do, what was I going to go for. Towards the end of my third year, I realized it would be better to just go and get a job, because I mean, we didn't know anything about the work culture. We didn't know anything about what it would be after our bachelor's. So I thought, the college is providing us placements, might as well avail that. And what if we got a job and I can always refuse later if I choose to go for something else? So I sat for the placements, and it was a good feeling to be the last one sitting in that hall towards the end of the day. It was a damn good feeling. I have to agree to that. And initially, when we started off, I went in with the mindset that I just want to see how it is. I wanted to waddle into the waters and just test them. What if I liked it? Or I mean, I didn't enjoy my 4 years academics, but what if the work is different? What if I enjoy that? Given that, when I started off work, initially it was good, but towards the end of it, it started developing into something that I wasn't interested in. And I mean, the 11 months that I got to work in Bangalore with the company that we were placed with, I would say the first 6 months were brilliant, without a doubt, because everything is new. You're still the so-called honeymoon phase, and I was crazy about just moving out of house and starting something of my own and just being independent. So I was just on cloud nine on the first 6 months, and then towards the end of the 6 months, I realized this is not something I would want to continue with for the rest of my life, because my life was a 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and the rest of the 2 days I just did nothing. I waited for the weekend to end because I knew my life would go back to a 9 to 5. And that's when I took a decision that I had to quit and try something that I wanted to do. That's what made me realize towards the second part of those 11 months.
See, that's very true. And I'd like to add here that anyone who's watching this, that whenever someone tells that they're not gelling up well with their 9 to 5 job, it does not mean that a 9 to 5 job is not exciting or something. There are aspects to a job, and one should always consider that. Right now, also, people are doing 9 to 5 jobs and are enjoying it. There are people who thoroughly enjoy, working with spreadsheets, working with spreadsheets before you raise your hand. There are people who actually
Add to that,
work.
I was working with spreadsheets
Yeah.
initially and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Excel was my forte and I loved it. I
Exactly.
loved
That
it.
is exactly where I was going, because I know Gurmehak. I know how she used to tell that she knows all the functions of Excel, and to this date, I don't know how to capitalize the entire row. That's something I cannot do. But she did, and she used to help me when I used to, need assistance with Excel sheet. So there are perks. Obviously, some people who enjoy that job even enjoy the 2 days that they get off after the 5 days a week, but there are people who don't, and that is why they wait for the 5 days to start again, because they prefer the cycle to be in a particular thing. If you take out the entire 2 days of the gaps and ask them to keep on working for the entire 5 days, and then again 5 days and again 5 days, some people prefer that also. There are different approaches towards depending on the people who take up the job. So one should actually realize, and one should actually keep in mind, that when someone talks about a 9 to 5 job being boring, it's because they have something else which they consider to be as an entertaining factor. हर किसी के लिए 9 to 5 नहीं होता, हर किसी के लिए आर्मी नहीं होता, हर किसी के लिए डॉक्टर बनना, like you cannot be in the medical services without giving out your 100% time. You have to commit your time towards the services. So वैसे ही everyone has a different job right now. So moving about different jobs, we'll be going further with this discussion and talking about switching streams, because all three of us started our graduation ka journey with something, and right now are not even close to what we do.
True.
So
True.
we'll
I think I
start
could
with
see further
Gurmehak now,
started.
क्योंकि switching streams का काम started from her. Actually, it started from me, but I'm the host, so I'm being polite. So
For the first
Gurmehak,
time in a long time.
yeah. So Gurmehak, please tell us about your inspiration to change streams after graduation and 1 year of job.
All right. Like I said, the initial couple of months were all right, but then, um, as the role started developing further, it required me to venture into learning new technologies and new languages like Java, C++, stuff like that, basically. And I was never one, exactly, just that. I was never one for those languages. My manager tried to push me, but I just wasn't ready. I wasn't interested. There was not even an ounce of interest in me to learn those languages, which is when I finally realized that it's not the 9 to 5 job that's a problem. It's the thing that what I'm doing doesn't interest me anymore. And that's when I took a call. I felt that because I personally felt it was very easy to get used to a 9 to 5. It's really easy. And to be specific, it wasn't a 9 to 5. It was an 11 to 6, 7 for me. So I thought it felt like a very easy place to just get comfortable. So I thought this is the best time to take that step. If I wanted to change, this would be that time. And before I started my bachelor's, I was interested in the field of communications and media studies, and I wanted to pursue my bachelor's in journalism. But that didn't work out for certain reasons. But either ways, after working for a couple of months in the pharmaceutical consultancy um, business, so to speak, I realized I didn't want to make a career out of it. And the best time would be now, because it had just been a couple of months since I'd left studying, and I thought if I gave it a further break, I wouldn't be able to get back to it. If I'd required to do certain papers or anything that had to be cleared for me to pursue a master's, it would just get more and more difficult for me. Hence, I just decided it was time to apply, and I always was keen towards doing my master's from a different country. I actually wanted to do my education, my bachelor's itself, from a different country. But having done my bachelor's from India, I knew I wanted to go out for my master's. So even with a 6 months break, I decided I didn't want to give papers. I just wasn't ready to devote that much time and devotion. So I went with Canada, and this might just be such a cliche because my name is Gurmehak, but that didn't work out again. And then Australia happened somehow. It was a decision that I took by myself without any discussion with my parents. It was just something I knew I had to do. It was, I mean, I started working towards it before I finally thought it appropriate to discuss with them, because I felt like I had to solidify my mind before I spoke to them. Because if I was firm and if I was informed enough, I was sure enough that they would understand my decision, the reason behind my decision.
Tell me more about, like, tell the viewers a little bit more about what stream you've taken in and why the stream in particular.
So I've just recently, just recently finished my master's in communications and media studies. Um, I felt the reason why I wanted to pursue that was, like I mentioned, I was always interested in the field of media and communications. I wanted to pursue journalism earlier, but having worked in the corporate sector for about a year, I realized it wasn't actually journalism specifically that I wanted to pursue, but more so just public relations. And I just wanted a role that led me to talk to people and also interact with people. And during the course of my bachelor's, I was involved in organizing a conference all 4 years, which was, to be honest, the best thing to come out of my bachelor's, after, of course, having met both of you. But yeah, that
I
made me
second that.
realize.
I was also a part of that conference. So yeah.
Exactly. So that
I
was the
was
best.
tried to be inculcated, but yeah, not my thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, all of us were joined, like we were connected with the conference at some point of time. But those for the 4 years of my bachelor's degree when I was working on the conference, that was the best time of my life that I can remember. So I felt I wanted to go into a role that involved me organizing, planning, and executing events or functions or something of that sort, basically, and coupled that with communications and a bit of international relations. So it was a lot of fields that I was interested in, and it was getting more and more difficult because even then I had that thought process that you have to zone in on just one thing and continue with that for the rest of your life, which caused me a lot of anxiety. Looking back now, I feel the past couple of years has at least taught me that you can't all. I mean, of course, it's different for everybody, but for me, um I felt that it evolves. Your likes, your dislikes, your passions, your interests, they keep evolving as you keep learning about so many other things. And having known that now, I can strongly say that my current field is what I'm interested in at the moment. But there are shoots of it, like you can say it shoots off into different directions that I want to pursue even further, specifically looking into religion and culture studies and international relations and the role religion in specific plays on international relations. That's something that I've been exposed to only in the last 2 years, and I have enjoyed it so much that words cannot express how much happiness it gave me. So I feel that's something that's what I did for the past 2 years, and the decision was just that one simple thing, that I wanted to do something in communications initially.
Right. So I think if I go back to the beginning, because Mehak went away a bit forward. So if I go back to the beginning to switching streams, I would say it's like particularly when you hit that O moment. It's a analogy drawing from some show. I can't remember which one, but it's when you particularly hit that O moment that okay, this is not what I want. Now I would say that yeah, I am maybe sound in technical knowledge. I gather technical knowledge quick, or I can I get well versed with it soon. But that is something I do not want to pursue career wise, because I felt that that knowledge is for me to keep, not for me to share. That's something I resonated with. So I think the first blow to my stream changing path was my first day at work. My manager comes up and says that you've been given this project And it's like day one. I'm like, okay, what's a project? I'm completely new, so I'm completely unfamiliar with the concept. So they tell me that you have to do this and this. So I say that, okay, so do I have to like give my opinions on something or share my knowledge on something? So she says, no, you just have to collate data, understand the technical adversities and collate that data. And I was like, oh, that was my first oh moment. And that just amplified. So I think my stint was, I think 7 months longer than Gurmehak, at least 7 or 8 months long.
Yes,
So
I think about 7 months.
yeah, and the final blow to that coffin, or I won't say coffin actually, the final
Final
blow to
nail.
that, yeah, the final nail to the coffin would be when I figured out what I actually enjoyed doing, even when I was at work. When I was at work, I had posters of racing cars all over my desk, and I was like, I want to pursue racing, I want to go for racing. And then one day I get an offer from a Formula 4 team. Go for racing. You're good at it. Why not do it? I walk up to a manager's office, like, see ya, I'm done. And that was my last moment. And that felt so good that, okay, I'm going to walk out of the office today in the evening and I'm going to go back there, the place I've been going since the last 8 months. And I'm going to sit there and actually contemplate my future in that field and not think about the Monday that ensues in the future and coming back here. I'm not saying I did not like it. I did. There were aspects to it I completely enjoyed. It was the security, the peace at the back of my mind that at the end of the month, no matter what happened, I would get a paycheck. And the workload will never be so much that I get burned out instantly. There'll be no burnout. There is no additional pressures on you of pursuing this or that because you lead a stable life career wise. So that was always there, but the uncertainty actually challenged me, and it did not challenge the technical part inside. It challenged the curiosity inside me, which is something I wanted to explore. So the first move towards switching streams came from there. Then when I started racing, that peace that I had at the back of my mind started to evaporate because there was no guarantee about where would I get my next paycheck. So I started exploring, okay, this is something I definitely want to do. Racing is something I definitely want to pursue. And like you asked Gurmehak, so what do I do particularly is in racing is I am a national racing driver. I have done national tournaments in four-stroke karting, and I've also developed racing in esports. My X1 esports is my official sponsor, like not the official sponsor, my official word when it comes to esports. And apart from that, I started figuring out. I took a year off from the job. I just went out that I'm going racing. I'm not going to do this anymore. This is not what I want to do in my life. So I stepped off the working platform on the, from my original stream and I switched to racing. Then eventually I figured out what else do I like apart from racing. Racing is something that's been ingrained in me from when I was 6 years old. I used to put two pillowcases on my bed. I used to keep my brother's RD Sharma on those pillowcases, jam a screwdriver on the left side of the bed and pretend as if I was driving from home to school in my dad's car. That was the beginning of driving or racing, the passion I had. I was 6 years old, second grade, I remember. So that was how far racing went. Then I started recalling, was that how I began racing, began driving? Then the answer was no. The first bout of racing was on my father's first laptop, a compact. I remember I played NFS2 and I remember it distinctly because I actually burned the laptop on the third day. It got overheated. So I still have that laptop actually as a relic, and I remember it distinctly. That was my first exposure to racing, and which got me thinking, which got the wheels turning, that it's not just racing, it's gaming. The game actually invigorates the challenge inside me. It actually invigorates so much passion and pushes me forward. It propels me more than anything else ever could. That is when I realized that my best friends are also in the industry and they are loving it. It's like, why not get the best of both worlds? I'm a people person, so I function when people around me are happy. And when it's my people, I am the happiest. If my people around me are happy. So I decided, okay, let's go for it. And I went ahead and joined that company. So right now I'm working in gaming. As a passion, I follow racing and I am a racer. So I couldn't imagine, further like branching out. But these are things that are to my core. Like these things I want to do. I could add on from this. I could add on aspects like recently I've started the idea of helping people after my mother's sudden demise. I was like, I have felt so much grief in my life. I've gone through so much sorrow that I cannot see people going through sorrow. It just reminds me of what I went through, and I want to erase that from people's life. And it's been there from like I think since day one in college, since I met Gurmehak, she can attest to this. Like in the class, if there is one sad person, no matter on what state of mind I am in, I see one sad person, be it a very ugly dude, be it a very pretty girl, doesn't matter to me. I will go there, sit next to them, and I will cheer them up. That is something I've done since day one. I used to walk into the class and people used to wave at me, felt so good that people are actually happy. Not about seeing me, but they're actually happy. They feel energized. And that just kept me going. That gave me energy. So I figured that was another route that I had, that, I want to help people in the sense, not help them out of the misery. I want them to be happy. That is something I started pursuing as well.
So yeah, so at the end of the day, that is what matters. I mean, everyone, and it has no exceptions here. Everyone needs someone who can listen to them.
Couldn't have said it better.
Nobody is going to seek for solutions straight away. They need someone to share the problems. Even the most
Exactly.
inclusive people need to share their problems. They need to talk to someone, and having someone like that is a key to life. You cannot have it. When we talk about having a key to smile, I guess this is the key to smile. We cannot have some without support, without emotional stability in our lives. There's no smile coming up. And with that only, we are going to talk about the next thing that I wanted to discuss was to, because since you've all worked in the industry, you switched your stream. During all of this, one thing that is very important to keep on that fire running, or to keep your motor grinding, is to have a supportive ecosystem that we've been talking to people about from the very first episode. And building a supportive ecosystem is very important when it comes to competitive career fields. And both, even right now, mass communication is a very competitive field. Racing has always been a competition regardless. So how do you guys keep up the attempt, or just keep up to building yourself or maintaining or sustaining a supportive ecosystem around you?
Um, I I am going to take these words from Rajdeep's mouths actually, which are, I'm a people person as well. I need my people around me to thrive. It's not that I can't survive on my own, because of course living in a different country and having worked in a different city back in India as well, I know that I am good when I live on my own. I'm an independent woman, but I need my people. I feel that's been the biggest blessing, the biggest support system for me have been my friends who have been there from day one. Since day one, they've always been there, and that includes both of you. You've heard me rant for hours, and I feel for my personal well-being, for me to have a good organized life and something that I can implement in my professional front as well, I need to have my support system with me. And then moving on, I think personally I have been very, very lucky to find some really, really nice people here in Australia as well, that I will go ahead and call family, who support me and who have guided me in my field and in have helped me in my personal life as well. Specifically, my mentor today here is an individual who has worked for 9 years in the field of digital marketing and communications, and she's also the I think she's the closest thing I have to an elder sister at the moment. And she's been supporting me, guiding me through my professional front, my personal issues, everything. So I feel it's very, very important to have those people around you, the people who bring you up, who support you, guide you, listen to you, and sometimes just tell you off when you know that what you're doing isn't right, and it's needed. It's just one of those things that are the most important in our lives.
True. Yes, I resonate with Mehak on this. Like, the fire doesn't actually ever stop burning within you when it's the next morning, when you're doing something you love. To be very honest, at least not so far, I would say. I've not had 40 years of experience to speak something on that basis. But then again, there is the irony over there that people working for an industry 40 years with no fire are actually doing it. They're self-sustaining, they're sustaining the family as well. But that desire is missing. That pain that they go through, the pain versus the fire aspect over here, that every morning getting up off bed and going to job, it's something they have to do. It's a rut they have gotten into, and it's something they're forced to do. Versus if there is something that burns inside you to actually push yourself more that day, that actually leads you to being happy about what you do at the end of the day. When you come back home and you get on that couch, you think, what did I do all day? Was I happy doing it, or was it just being done because of the sake of it, because I wanted more money? That emotion is something that you relate with, and you understand that maybe I did not have the best of days today. I was not as productive as I would have liked, but that doesn't diminish that fire by any means, because you know that you're happy doing what you're doing, and that the next day and the day after that and the day after that, you will still be happy doing what you're doing. And if you're not, then you know that I have the capability and the determination to actually change to something that I'd be happy doing, having done it already at such a premature stage, I would say, in your life. You know that once you're established, you can actually move around because you've done it at the point where you were nobody.
Very
So
true.
that focus actually keeps you going.
Also, to add to that, I think to an extent, youngsters or teens these days, yes, I need to add this. We have finally, eventually just got into that age zone where we can call people younger than 20 youngsters. So yes, youngsters these days need to just keep this and bear this in mind, that life is fluid, and so are a lot of your decisions. So you can't just have a very strict mindset that I want to pursue this path and that's all I want to do. There might be changes, your focus might shift because of your change in interests, and you need to have an open mind to it. If you feel that you're not comfortable where you are right now, it's okay to make that change. It's all right to do it. I know it sounds very easy to say right now, but if you are not comfortable, or if you feel that your interests have changed and you want to shift fields, for instance, I feel it's important to understand that's a possibility. To make that change is a possibility. It is an option. We don't have to be stuck in a place where you're not comfortable, where you're not enjoying when your work, where you're not where that fire doesn't burn anymore.
Yeah, very true. I mean, I think Mehak has actually capsulated that very beautifully, I would say. Not beautifully, but yeah, very elegantly. That yeah, things change in your life. Things and situations change every day, and there's nothing you can actually do about it. And
Right.
one thing that adolescents, teens, even preteens need to know is that it's okay to feel what you're feeling. It's
Yes.
okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. If somebody says, "Why are you sad?" Don't be sad. Don't heed them. It's okay to feel sad in moments that life throws shit at you. That's completely fine. And it's okay to actually work on it. It's what's not okay is actually succumbing to it, that I am sad, I'm destined to be sad for life. What you need to do is that the next morning you get up, you say that, okay, I am not okay with what happened yesterday, and I am going to do something that makes it okay. That is what
Absolutely
will
that.
grant you that focus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You cannot
Right.
think about it like every single day cannot be the end of the world. And that is something that I see. People are coming up with, problems which are actually not problems. They think it. And our job here as counselors just keeps on, to be reminding people that everything has a solution. Everything has a way out. There is always some way you can, get rid of a particular thing if you consider it a problem. We need to understand this. And even though you think that every other thing is a problem, or every other thing is an obstacle, you need to keep on thinking about it as a challenge. And only then you have the ambition or the energy to work on it. You have the inspiration or the motivation to actually find a solution. And that is what I guess you both have done, because after being stuck in a particular 9 to 5 job where you actually thought that you were more than that, you were not a perfect fit for that particular job, you had something else. So when you try to find a particular thing or a particular job in this manner, which you need to make sure that you pursue it and you succeed in it, you excel in it. The point is success, as there was a movie which actually mentioned that you should not follow, or you should not run behind success, you should follow excellence. That is a very important thing to understand. And people right now are woke, if I may add, enough to understand this, but they're still not understanding that their awareness or their state of mind where they know what is right, what is wrong, how the competition has to be taken in consideration. You know what is right, what is wrong, but yet you are still going by the cultural conventional methods and cultural outlooks. Your parents have said that you should go for engineering or medical, and you go after it, only to realize 4 years later. Right now, the reason the number of mental health awareness programs, campaigns, Bring a Smile for that matter, has taken surface is because we never had this opportunity. Social media is booming with platforms where people are talking about awareness and how there are more. In our very first episode, Chef Ranveer Brat spoke about this, that whatever is a alternate career path right now will become a mainstream career tomorrow. So if you are getting into this alternate career right now, you will be at the top of it when it becomes a mainstream career.
True.
You cannot,
I
because
mean,
obviously,
so-
since like Rajdeep here is working in an esports company. They are it's a gaming company, and tomorrow it's going to be a huge thing. It's something that will become tomorrow's engineering, perhaps. At that point of time,
probably.
Rajdeep can say that yes, I have reached this point and I have established myself in this industry already, which is right now booming. He'll have a head start on the particular career path. The same can go for any other field which is right now booming and might become a mainstream career tomorrow. So people who are watching this should really understand that whatever you like to do, but it's still not a mainstream career, does not have the potential to become one in the future.
Very true. Anything that's niche today is going to be mainstream tomorrow. It's written. Internet was a
That's
fad at one point, guys.
Yeah,
Internet was a fad. It's not here to stay.
nobody knew that we would
Look
be
where we are
talking on
today.
Zoom today while still connecting to a dial-up modem.
right.
So
And to add
everything
to
is
that,
evolving right now, and we need to utilize it. It's a resource, as people say. We've reached the end of the session for today, and I'd like to thank you both for taking out the time. Gurmehak from Australia, Rajdeep from Delhi, and anyone who has any query, once again I'll tell you, Bring a Smile is always listening. If you have anything to talk about, we are always there. Just drop in a message. Our contact details are there on our Instagram. We'll see you next time soon. We are still on plan. We have a few episodes left for the season, so please keep yourself posted with us. Stay tuned, and every day we are reaching a step forward towards our awareness program. So we are being more and more happy about how many smiles we are getting in general. So thank you so much. I always thank our followers and anyone who is watching. I tell my friends, I've told people that we might not have many followers, we might not have many likes on our posts, but when I see the insights and I see how many people have watched our content, it's really, that's our goal. We want more and more people to watch it, and as long as we have that insight of how many people we've reached, I think we are a success. So thank you so much once again. We'll bid farewell today and meet you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
thank you
guys.
for having us.
Yes. Thank you for having us. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.